7. Signs your most powerful vibrations come from darkness. It's a huge gift. There's a kind of power that doesn't come from the light. It doesn't come from meditation cushions, incense smoke, or the gentle hum of a peaceful mantra. It comes from the silence after the scream, from the nights when every part of you wants to give up, but something ancient inside says, keep going. It comes from the darkness, and not just any darkness, your darkness. The one you've been running from, hiding from, trying to heal away or cleanse with love and light. But what if I told you that the very thing you've been trying to escape is actually the source of your most powerful vibration? That your deepest pain, your shadowed past, your buried rage and grief, they are not curses. They are sacred energy, and if you learn how to work with them instead of denying or fearing them, they become your greatest gift. We don't talk about this enough in the spiritual space. We romanticize healing, we glorify the glow-up, but the real transformation, it happens in the dark. It happens in the places where you don't want anyone to see you. It happens in the moments when you feel broken, unworthy, forgotten, and yet those are the exact moments where your vibration becomes real. Because it's easy to vibrate high when life is good, but when everything's falling apart and you choose to stay present, to feel, to not escape, that's when you touch your true power.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
There are some people on this planet who were never meant to be soft lights. They were born with storm energy, with the vibration of thunder, of sacred chaos, of destruction that leads to rebirth. They're not here to make people feel comfortable. They're here to wake people up. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's why you've felt too much your whole life. Too intense, too emotional, too deep. Maybe you've been told to calm down, to be more positive, to smile more, to stop being so serious. But what if your seriousness is holy? What if your intensity is divine? What if your darkness is the doorway? I've seen it over and over again. The most powerful light workers, creators, visionaries, and healers, every single one of them had to descend into their personal underworld before they could rise. And that descent, it's not a mistake. It's a sacred right. It's the universe saying, you're ready to carry something bigger, but first, let's see if you can hold yourself. So, if you've ever felt like your path was harder than others, like you were thrown into fire over and over again, like the universe kept testing you beyond what you thought you could handle, maybe it wasn't a punishment. Maybe it was preparation. Maybe it was activation. Because here's what most people don't understand. The dark doesn't corrupt your energy, it reveals it. It shows you what's real. It strips away the performance. It brings you face to face with your rawest self. And that self, that's the one the world needs. Not the filtered version, not the polished, perfect spiritual persona, but the you that has been through it and still stands. The you that has cried on the floor at 3 a.m. and still woke up the next day to try again. The you that has faced betrayal, abandonment, loss, and instead of closing your heart, you chose to keep it open, bruised, but open, scarred, but soft. That's real power. That's the frequency that changes lives. Let me ask you something that most people never dare to ask themselves. What if the thing you're most ashamed of is actually the source of your medicine? What if the trauma you try to hide is the very code your soul came here to share? What if the darkness you've lived through is not your obstacle, but your offering, You see, when we try to erase our darkness, we erase our depth. When we only show the light, we become shallow, but when we integrate, when we say, yes, I've walked through hell and here's what I found there, we become magnetic, we become real, we become guides. Not because we have all the answers, but because we've lived the questions, because we've felt the void and still chose to create. And here's the wild part. Your vibration in the dark is often stronger than your vibration in the light, because pain has a frequency. It's dense, yes, but it's also pure, it's undiluted. And when you stop resisting it, when you stop labeling it as low or bad, it becomes fuel. That grief, it becomes art. That rage, it becomes revolution. That heartbreak, it becomes healing. But only if you're willing to stop seeing your darkness as a flaw and start seeing it as a force. You are not broken because you feel deeply. You are not less spiritual because you've faced the shadows. If anything, you're more. You're forged. You're tested. You're real. And the world doesn't need more fake light. It needs embodied truth. It needs people who can hold space in the fire, who can walk into the storm and not lose themselves. People who can say, I know the way because I've walked it. So if you've ever felt like the odd one out, like your energy is too heavy for the room, like your presence shakes things up, good. That's your gift. That's your sign. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to break patterns. You were meant to shift timelines. You were meant to carry a frequency that others don't understand because they haven't met that part of themselves yet. But when they do, your vibration will be the one that reminds them, you're not alone, you're not crazy, you're just powerful in a way the world hasn't learned how to honor yet. And maybe that's the real journey, not to become something new, but to finally see that what you've always been is exactly what the world needs, not in spite of your darkness, but because of it. The hidden strength of emotional depth. Why your sensitivity is a superpower in disguise. There is a reason your emotions feel like tidal waves. There is a reason you sense things others seem blind to. Why you can walk into a room and feel the weight of it before a word is spoken. Why someone's smile can feel hollow to you even when everyone else believes it's real. This is not weakness. This is not overthinking. This is not being too much. This is your gift. The emotional depth you carry is not a flaw. It's a finely tuned instrument your soul has cultivated over many lifetimes, and the world has tried to convince you to turn it down, but now is the time to turn it up. You were never meant to feel less. You were meant to feel more, because it's through feeling that you access truth. It's through emotion that you connect to the invisible, the unspoken, the sacred. Your sensitivity is a gateway to dimensions that logic can't reach. While others operate in the realm of surface understanding, you dive. You sense energy shifts. You read between lines. You hear what isn't said. And you carry the emotional intelligence of someone who has been here before, whether in this life or many others. Your soul has been trained to navigate the terrain of the heart, and that is no small thing. But here's where it gets complicated. The depth you carry makes people uncomfortable, because when you feel deeply, you mirror what others avoid. You reflect the parts of them they've shut down. You awaken emotions they've buried, and sometimes they'll reject you not because of who you are, but because of what you reveal. So you start to question yourself. You start to shrink. You try to be easier to swallow. But every time you dim your emotional truth to make others comfortable, you poison your own power. Your sensitivity is not a liability, it's your compass. It tells you when something's off long before your mind can explain it. It tells you who is real, who is lying, who is hurting underneath the armor. It guides you toward people and paths that match your frequency. And yes, sometimes it leads you into intensity, into grief, into heartbreak. But those experiences aren't breaking you, expanding your capacity to hold space, to feel, to love. Not just the easy love, but the transformational kind. The kind that sees someone in their mess and still chooses to stay. The kind that alchemizes pain into purpose. You might wonder why your life has been so emotionally charged. Why you've had to feel so much, lose so much, break so many times. But look what it's created in you. Look at your compassion. Look at your wisdom. Look at how deeply you understand people without them needing to say a word. That didn't come from ease. That came from feeling. That came from walking through fire and choosing not to shut down. That came from choosing to keep your heart open when it would have been safer to close it. Let me ask you something. What if your tears were holy? What if your breakdowns were sacred ceremonies? What if your emotional sensitivity is the exact tool the universe gave you to do your work in this world? Because when you embrace your feelings instead of fearing them, you stop being overwhelmed by them. You start working with them. You start turning your emotional chaos into clarity. And that's when you become unstoppable, not because you never feel pain, but because you know how to move through it. The world needs more of this. More people who can feel without drowning, who can sit in grief without trying to fix it, who can carry rage without burning everything down, who can hold joy without needing to justify it. Emotional mastery isn't about control, it's about relationship. It's about intimacy with yourself, and when you become intimate with your own emotional landscape, you stop fearing the dark. You stop running from yourself. And when you stop running from yourself, you become a lighthouse for others who are lost in their own storms. So if you've ever been told you're too sensitive, too intense, too emotional, good. That's the signal. That's how you know you're carrying a medicine the world has forgotten how to value. But it's needed now more than ever. Because we are in a time where realness is rare, where people are starving for depth, for presence, for someone who won't look away when the pain rises. And that someone is you. You don't need to become something else. You don't need to numb yourself to fit in. You just need to allow your emotional depth to be the gift it is. Let it guide you, let it teach you, let it lead you to the people, the places, the work that only you can do. Because the vibration you carry, the one that comes from your ability to feel, is not just powerful, it's transformational. The sacred rage within, how your anger is the voice of your higher self in disguise. There's a part of you that roars. Maybe you've spent years trying to silence it, to spiritualize it away with mantras and mindfulness. Maybe you've been told that anger is a sign of immaturity, of imbalance, of being unevolved. But what if that's a lie? What if the fire inside you isn't something broken, it's something sacred? What if your anger isn't the enemy of your higher self, but the voice of it? Because sometimes the most divine part of you doesn't whisper in stillness, it screams in truth. We've been conditioned to fear our rage, especially those of us who walk a spiritual path. We're told to be calm, to be kind, to be soft and gentle light. But here's the paradox most never speak aloud. True spiritual evolution doesn't come from bypassing anger. It comes from integrating it. Your anger is not separate from your soul. It is your soul's alarm system. It's the part of you that rises when your boundaries have been crossed, when your truth has been buried, when your light has been dimmed by systems, stories, or people who profit from your silence. If you've ever felt that burning heat in your chest that says, "Enough is enough," that's not your ego out of control. That's your soul stepping forward. That's your spirit remembering what it came here to do. Because sometimes love doesn't look like forgiveness, it looks like fire. Sometimes healing doesn't come in the form of peace, it comes through revolution. And that revolution begins inside you. When you stop suppressing your rage and start listening to it, like the sacred messenger it is, think about it. Every major change in your life, every time you've broken free from something that was killing your spirit, wasn't because you meditated it away. It was because something inside you got so loud, so fierce, so tired of pretending that you moved, you left, you spoke up, you shattered the illusion. That was anger. That was power. That was your higher self saying, "This isn't who we are anymore." And the more you try to deny it, the more you disconnect from your truth. Spiritual anger is not chaos, it is clarity. It's sharp, it knows exactly what's wrong. It may come out messy at first, but underneath it is a pure signal. It's the signal that says, "I deserve better. This is not love. I will not betray myself again." And when you learn to sit with it, not to react blindly, but to listen, you unlock one of the most potent sources of transformation on the planet. Because anger in its awakened form is not just personal, it's collective. It connects you to every soul who has ever been silenced, dismissed, disrespected. It becomes a bridge to purpose. How many times have you felt anger rise, only to shame yourself for it? How many times have you swallowed your truth because you were afraid of being too much? And what has that cost you? Your voice, your peace, your clarity. You were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be authentic. And authenticity means honoring every part of you, even the ones the world isn't comfortable with, especially those. When you start treating your anger as sacred, it stops controlling you, it stops exploding, it stops festering. You begin to channel it, you begin to use it, you create with it, you draw boundaries with it, you speak truth with it, and suddenly you're not just healing yourself, you're healing generations of silence, you're breaking cycles, you're waking people up, because nothing cuts through illusion like the vibration of someone who is done being manipulated. That's what sacred rage is. It's the divine line in the sand. It's the moment you say, "I will no longer abandon myself to make others feel safe." It's the clarity that returns when you stop pretending things are okay when they're not. And when you express it not recklessly but intentionally, you become unstoppable. You become magnetic. Because people can feel when someone is standing in their truth. They may not like it, but they feel it, and that feeling is what changes things. There's a fire in you that the world needs, not to destroy, but to illuminate, to burn away the lies, to clear the way for something real. And that fire doesn't come from being nice, it comes from being honest. It comes from allowing your spirit to speak in its full voice, even when it shakes, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Because comfort never changed the world, but truth does. So let your rage be sacred. Let it rise, let it guide you, not toward hate, but toward integrity, not toward division, but toward awakening. Because when you finally stop being afraid of your fire, you'll realize it's not here to burn you down, it's here to set you free. The alchemy of pain, turning your deepest wounds into the energy that awakens others. There is a kind of pain that doesn't just break you, it builds you, it carves you out, it hollows you with purpose, and even though it hurts more than you thought you could handle, it creates a space inside of you for something unshakable, something ancient, something true. We're not taught to see pain this way. We're taught to run from it, numb it, bury it, distract ourselves with anything that keeps us from sitting in the fire. But what if the fire is where your soul is waiting? What if the very wounds you've been trying to hide are sacred portals, gateways to a level of consciousness and power that only pain can unlock? When you've suffered deeply, emotionally, spiritually, even physically, it can feel like a form of exile, like the universe has turned its back on you, like you've been forgotten. But those are the moments where transformation begins, because pain strips away everything false. It doesn't care about your image, your plans, your comfort. It takes you to a place where only what's real can survive. And in that place you meet yourself, not the version of you that performs for the world, but the raw, unfiltered essence that was there before the world taught you who to be. We don't like to admit how much of our identity is built around avoiding pain. We chase goals, relationships, status, thinking they'll protect us from ever feeling that ache again. But pain has a way of finding us not to punish us, but to remind us of what we've forgotten, that we are not here to avoid the human experience, we are here to alchemize it, to take what tried to destroy us and turn it into light, into wisdom, into presence, because no one can fake the kind of presence that comes from surviving your own darkness. You know this, don't you? Deep down, you've felt it, that shift that happens after a loss, after betrayal, after heartbreak. It's like the world slows down, priorities rearrange themselves, you begin to see again, not just with your eyes, but with your soul. You sense people's pain without them saying a word, you move differently, you speak with more weight, and people feel it. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. That's because your vibration has changed. You're not resonating from the surface anymore, you're vibrating from the wound. But instead of it weakening you, it's fueling you. This is the alchemy of pain. When you stop resisting it, when you stop making it wrong, it becomes energy. Creative energy, healing energy, visionary energy, the kind of energy that doesn't just change your life, but shifts everyone around you. Because when you've walked through the fire of your own agony and chosen to keep your heart open, you become a living transmission of what's possible. You become the proof that healing is real. Not as a concept, but as a frequency. Your pain is not random, your story is not meaningless. Every crack in your soul is an opening for light to enter. And when you stop hiding those cracks, when you allow others to see them, you give them permission to do the same. You stop being just a person, they feel you as a mirror, a guide, a reflection of their own unhealed parts. And that's not just power, that's purpose. So many of us wait for the pain to be gone before we step into our calling. We think we have to be fully healed, fully perfect, fully whole. But the truth is, your purpose doesn't begin after the pain, it emerges from it. It rises from the ashes of everything you've lost. And the more you embrace it, the more you'll realize that your pain didn't break you. It revealed you. You were never meant to hide, you were meant to rise. Not in spite of your wounds, but because of them. Because those wounds are where your soul's power lives. Not polished, not pretty, but real. And it's that realness that will awaken others. Not your perfection, but your presence. the kind of presence that only comes from someone who has died 1,000 emotional deaths and still chooses to love, still chooses to give, still chooses to believe. This is the final alchemy, when you take your deepest pain and turn it into your deepest gift. When you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it's for. When you trust that nothing you've gone through was wasted, that every tear watered your purpose, that every heartbreak shaped your strength, and that every scar is a map leading you back to yourself. You are not just a survivor, you are a transmitter, a transformer, a lighthouse made of shadow and flame, and the world needs what only you can shine. Let your pain become your power, and let your power wake the world up.